Today I want to get into Capricorns and basically my kind of take on Capricorn people as a Capricorn myself, because I see a lot of memes and a lot of like definitions and stereotypes about Capricorn people and Capricorn women, and I just want to clear up some of these concepts and notions and kind of debunk, which ones are a bit over dramatized and like kind of over exaggerated or stereotypes, and which ones are actually like real, like that I agree with as a Capricorn myself. Because I was born January 4th, so that would be like a January Capricorn, and there is like a difference between December Capricorns and January Capricorns. December Capricorns are a bit more, they have more of a traditional side to them, I'd say, as opposed to January Capricorns, in my opinion. And December Capricorns are, they're more kind of like Sagittarius. They have a little bit of those Sagittarius qualities, and at the same time I find them more like traditional as opposed to January Capricorns. Okay, but everyone has their take on it, so it really depends on the individual. But for me, as a January Capricorn, I believe that we definitely have restrictions and stuff like that because of Saturn, and Saturn is our ruling planet. So Capricorns do sometimes face certain restrictions or sometimes blockages that in their life that they have to overcome, and that's just because of how things are set up. Like when they incarnate here on Earth, they have to overcome certain challenges and obstacles, like the mountain goat. They have to like climb to the top of the mountain, but that mountain can be really rocky, it can be really steep, it can have a lot of things in the way. So it can be really difficult for some, but eventually, they're pretty determined. Like Capricorns are very determined kind of people, so they still overcome it. They still, even if it's really hard or difficult, they still try to overcome difficult situations and get to the top of that mountain. Sometimes it can be really difficult, be really painful, depending on the situation and circumstance. But a lot of Capricorn people are very hard. They're very focused and determined when it comes to achieving certain things. There can be a lot of stuff going on, like with their friends and their family, like parties and stuff happening. It's Christmas time right now, and there's a lot of stuff going on, but a Capricorn, no matter what, is not going to give up on their goals and their dreams. They're not going to give up on what they want to accomplish in life just to be popular and liked by everyone. They would rather be true to themselves and stay true to their mission and what they want to do, because they don't really care for like being everyone's best friend. They actually prefer having a few close friends than the whole world as their friend. So they would prefer that instead of like being the life of the party like Gemini and all those air signs. They would prefer just a few close friends. And also people like to say, oh well, that just means they're very stuck up or conservative, or they're just very like obsessive or kind of restrictive, but it's not like that. It's just they have certain things they want to achieve in life, like certain goals they want to achieve in life, and they only have a certain amount of time. Sorry if I'm like coughing, it's just a bit cold outside right now. It's like snow everywhere, snow on the ground, but they're just a bit conservative in terms of like their kind of goals and aspirations, and they're not gonna like give up on their dreams. They're not going to basically let everything loose, let everything go, just for the sake of being popular, just for the sake of being liked. So and that goes for both Capricorn men and women. Now, if a Capricorn has like a lot of air in their chart and fire, they can be more social. Like I have Aquarius in my Mercury and Venus, so I'm quite social. I'm quite also liberal. Like I'm all for people kind of like being true to themselves and self, because if there's anyone that knows about like masks and persona, it's Capricorn. Because in certain environments, like in the business world and all that, like Capricorns are good with navigating through that. They're good with kind of like dealing with people and kind of giving people advice and being more of an authoritative figure or like a parent, because Saturn is kind of fatherly energy. It's like masculine a bit. So Saturn is kind of dominating. It's kind of like, it's kind of like a dominant kind of energy. So it gives Capricorns that energy as well. It gives, even from a young age, Capricorn children are actually pretty, they're pretty mature for their age. So they're pretty mature even at a young age. And when they get older, people say, oh, Capricorns age in reverse. And that's true. Like we do kind of age in reverse. We kind of age backwards. And as Capricorns get older, their personality gets a bit younger, And also, like with myself, like even as a child, I got along really well with older people. And I had a lot of friends. I had a lot of friends in school, and I was very chatty and all that, but I was able to have conversations with adults from a young age and get along with them. And even now, like excuse me, even now and even in high school, older people would come to me for advice on certain things, and like even if I didn't know the topic they were talking about or the thing they were talking about, they would still come to me for advice. They would still kind of like ask me for my opinion on certain things people are supposed to do during that age and studying and, getting into university and all that. So I wasn't really that focused on expressing myself, I'd say, as opposed to now, like in my field, I studied media studies and communications at university. So in my field, there's room for people in my field to be more expressive and creative with their work, depending on where they're working and all that. Because some places, depending on the business, it might be more traditional. But luckily for me, like in my industry, you usually have space to be creative on certain projects. Not every project, but certain projects you can be. So that was great for me because, because I have water and earth in my chart. So it's good. Like I do both business and I do both creation. So photography, video editing, like all of that stuff. So that worked out well for myself because I don't consider myself a traditional Capricorn. Like I don't consider myself a Capricorn that's very like by the book, like traditional or follows all the rules and is very strict and controlled and conservative. Like I don't consider myself to be that. But I have met Capricorns like that, definitely. Especially like a lot of the Capricorn men I find are definitely very conservative sometimes. They're more traditional sometimes. But when you get to know Capricorn people, they can surprise you. Like you find out that they're not as conservative as they come across to be. It's really, really nice outside right now, and it's still bright. It's getting darker and darker, but it's really pretty. Like I love the winter time, and winter season and snow and all that. Like Capricorns usually love that. So Saturn's energy is kind of cold. It's kind of like it's not very emotional. So we're not very emotional people. We're not very like even if we're into like romance and all that, it's more reserved to people that are close to us. It's reserved to people that are very, very like close and people that we trust, because we're not very some people say, oh, you're not very approachable. Like Capricorns are not very approachable, and it's not that. It's just we usually have a lot of stuff going on, and we can't give our time to everybody because we already have a lot on our plate. We have a lot to do, we have a lot to accomplish, and it's not like we're ignoring people intentionally, or like we're ignoring people to be rude and all that. Unless you've been like really rude to the Capricorn, then they'll ignore you. But if you just, usually it's because their mind is somewhere else. Like they're kind of focused on something else. They're kind of they probably have a lot on their plate. They're probably juggling like a lot of things, work, extracurriculars, you know, school, like courses and stuff. They usually have a lot of stuff going on, and but that doesn't mean they're not open to friendship and all that. It's just like they reserve that space. They reserve friendships and relationships for people that they think deserve it, because people get betrayed a lot, and Capricorns understand that. So they're more, you know, they're not just going to make friends with people just because they want to seem popular and they want to seem like they have everything together. And in terms of like friendship and relationships, like a Capricorn would rather make money and kind of like see about themselves and their goals and dreams rather than be friends with the whole world. I'm just getting a few Christmas presents for some family members. Yeah, so like if a Capricorn really likes you, they will go above and beyond to like support you with whatever it is you're doing, like whether that's your career, your relationship. Like we're very loyal and supportive to people that we love and that we care for. But this isn't like reserved for the whole world. Like we're not going to basically be there for every single person. It's just reserved for people that are closest to us, that we love and trust, basically. It's not like we don't care about other people. It's just we can only give our all and our trust and everything to like certain people. So we can't basically give our hearts to everyone and give our like support to everyone, because first of all, not everyone is like comfortable with us anyway. Like a lot of people aren't just Capricorns aren't compatible with everybody. Capricorns are not compatible with the whole world, you know. They're compatible with certain people, but not everybody. So basically, if a Capricorn, if you really are like in Capricorn's good books and like, you know, you kind of show the same reciprocity or the same kind of support and the same attention, because we know that a lot of people, you know, they talk a lot, but they don't really mean what they say, and they don't really stay true to their words. So if you can show that to a Capricorn, you know, if you really want to be friends with one, because a lot of people, some people watching, they might be like, after listening to me, they might be like, oh, fuck that. Like, I don't want to be friends with someone like that. Like, I'm not going to go above and beyond and be loyal and respectful all the time and all that. But that's okay. Like, this is for people that are actually want to be friends with a Capricorn, or in a relationship with a Capricorn, or are trying to understand Capricorns. Like, this isn't for people that are just like, that don't care. This is for people that actually want to understand us better and actually understand, like, from a Capricorn perspective, like as told by a Capricorn, because a lot of people, they talk about Capricorns and all that, but they're not Capricorn. Sometimes they don't even have a lot of Saturn or Capricorn in their chart. So it's like, sometimes I'm listening to people and I'm like, you're getting close, but you're not on the point, you know, you're not on it, like you don't understand, you don't like understand how it is if you're not actually under Saturn and have a lot of Saturn in your, I also have like Saturn in my Mars and in other parts of my astrological chart. So it's not just like, Capricorn is not just in my sun sign, it's in like other parts too of my zodiac chart. So yeah, but that's okay, you know, like I don't have to like explain. I think if people are into and down with like a Capricorn, they will be down with a Capricorn, you know. They will want to be friends with Capricorn, and they will want to like show that they're interested. Because sometimes with us, you know, we're very aloof. Sometimes we're kind of like Aquarius, you know. We're kind of like aloof and detached. So if someone is interested in us, I'm getting lost right now in my own neighborhood. Anyway, if someone is interested in a Capricorn, they should like really make it known. Like they should say, hey, you know, I am interested in you. I am like, I want to be your friend. Like be more obvious with it, because we are very like detached people. We're very like aloof sometimes, or focused on a lot of things. So unless like a Capricorn's not going to know if you like them. Like if you're an introvert, for example, if you're an introvert and you're not very expressive with yourself, and you can't express how you feel about someone, a Capricorn's not going to know. Like a Capricorn, you know, they're not going to even like notice. Sometimes they might not even notice you unless you actually come up and say, hey, like let's go out, let's do this, like let's make plans. You know, a Capricorn isn't really going to notice, you know, if you like them and you're introverted, but you can't talk or approach them. Like a Capricorn needs someone that is more direct, because we are direct ourselves. So we're not going to really know, like if you're given like little hints and all that, and all like kind of childish, like little like winks and hints and all that, like we're not gonna, a Capricorn isn't like down for that either. Like for example, if you're in a bar or something and you're kind of like winking at a girl, or kind of like trying to play cat and mouse, like a Capricorn likes people that are very direct and very like strong and powerful with their energy. And what I mean by that is even maybe men, like maybe Capricorn man might be into that, like with a female, but the Capricorn women, they need someone that's more direct. They need someone that's more like, hey, like, can I have your number? And, you know, like people that are more direct with how they approach and ask people out. Like they like people that are confident in themselves. The confidence for a Capricorn is like the ultimate kind of turn on. That is the ultimate kind of like, even just like in terms of friendship, like if someone's confident and is really sure of themselves, like that will impress a Capricorn. Sometimes you don't even have to be like, you don't even have to know everything. You don't even have to be like anyone, you know, any CEO or anything. But a Capricorn, if you're like confident in yourself and very self-assured and very like, you have your own sense of style and your own personality, and you're not afraid to stand out from the crowd and be true to yourself, like that will really impress a Capricorn. That will make the Capricorn more attractive to you, and the Capricorn might even pursue you because of that. They might like want to be your friend, want to be your business partner. They might want to be around you, hang around you more if you're like that, because a lot of people, we can spot if people are just, you know, following along and just following along to get along. We can spot that. So what really impresses a Capricorn, you know, as many of us are leaders ourselves, we are impressed by other leaders. We are impressed by people that have a strong kind of edge to them. They have like something different about them, or they're very focused on their goals. If a Capricorn is not speaking to you or has cut you off, you need to look at your actions first, because they are willing to give people a chance. Like Capricorns are very kind of like, think about them as like someone in a courtroom, you know, they're part of the jury, or they're the judge and all that. Like Capricorns are willing to give people a chance. It just depends on what you did and how sorry you are, and how like if you're actually able to address the situation in a manner that's more mature, and not kind of get childish over it, not get emotionally worked up about it, or also not seek an emotional response from that Capricorn. Okay? Also, there's this thing with Capricorn in terms of like karma and resolution, and basically Capricorn and Saturn, you know, Saturn is very like, it'll teach you right from wrong. It has a lot of lessons to teach people. And when a Capricorn is young and growing up in this world, they will learn a lot about humanity. They will learn a lot about themselves and other people. And Saturn has a lot of lessons to teach Capricorn. So when someone usually like does something wrong to Capricorn, and kind of like with Scorpio, like Capricorn just, it's more cold. So when a Capricorn sometimes gets hurt by somebody, or like betrayed by someone, or even if a Capricorn is present in a situation where people are getting hurt, or getting kind of like something bad is happening to that person, or like someone's taking out their anger on someone, and a Capricorn is like witnessing the turbulent situation that is happening. Usually, you know, since they have this Saturn in them, Saturn is kind of like a judge and will teach these people lessons and will bring in that karma. So whoever has been being rude, being like abusing power, or basically, you know, taking advantage of other people, being rude to other people, like they will face some sort of consequence. And that doesn't necessarily happen right away. Like it doesn't necessarily happen right away. It could be later on down the line. But what I noticed with Capricorns, and I've had a lot of Capricorn friends and colleagues, you know, around me, is that you don't want to like mess with them or harass or target them, because they have, with Saturn, you know, around, like you don't want to be kind of like rocking the boat too much in terms of like how you treat people. You need to be really respectful and all that, and respect is a big thing when it comes to Saturn. So you have to kind of be aware and watch what you're doing, watch how you're treating other people, and how you go about things if you're around a lot of Capricorn people, because they're gonna notice like if you are, you know, doing diabolical things, if you're intentionally hurting people, if you're being manipulative, like we're gonna notice all of that. And Capricorns have an inbuilt bullshit detector, so we kind of can sense when people are lying. We can sense basically if people are hiding things, and if they're not being true to themselves. And we understand that sometimes, you know, people can't be fully direct and honest in this world, you know, just because sometimes if you're fully direct and honest, you can get in trouble, and we understand that. But when it comes to more serious things, when it comes to more serious things, you know, where someone could potentially be harmed or like be hurt and all that, and someone is withholding information and because of that, and the situation can get worse, like we would prefer if people are actually honest in that circumstance and situation, rather than leave it to the last minute and let everything kind of like fall down and all that. So yeah, we have like, we can kind of sense when people are coming at us like with some kind of like sob story, or kind of like some kind of thing that's gonna to try to get our money, or try to sense when people are about that. Like, so if you want to play games and all that, like we're gonna know. Like you don't have to be within our same vicinity. You don't have to be like, you can be just like a block away, and before you come up to us, we already know what you're about and all that. And we're good at reading people and their energy. So, because it's a sea goat, Capricorn is a sea goat. It's not like, so it has kind of like, it can go deep with things. It can go into the water and like understand emotion and understand people's emotion. It might have difficulty like expressing emotion. It might have difficulty being empathetic for people and all that, just because of Saturn. But we understand emotions. We understand like psychology and all that. We are very good like with mental things, like mental kind of like reading people's energy, reading people's minds and all that. We're very good at that, like telepathy. It's called telepathy. So yeah, we're good with that. And yeah, sometimes, you know, being a Capricorn can be a blessing and a curse, like literally, because we understand people so much, but at the same time, it's like that can kind of ruin things, because we have this deep understanding like with humanity and with people, and it can kind of ruin things because you can't, sometimes, you know, you can't see, you see everything, you see behind the veil already, like you see what people are really about, and that can kind of take away from the naivety. It can take away from the surprise and all that, you know, but it can also be a good thing because it can also protect you, right? Yeah. Yeah, so also Capricorn people, a lot of the places that I worked for some reason, like in the past, most of the companies I worked at, like everyone in my department, I usually had like a few Capricorn people in my department, females, which is really interesting. And yeah, even the first kind of job I had, like at this kind of big company, there were two Capricorns. My manager was a Capricorn, a black girl, and I had a colleague that was a Capricorn. Her name was Dawn. So that was interesting, and we were like working together and all this, and so it's interesting, you know, in the business world, the working world, and all that, how I have encountered a lot of Capricorn women, and we for the most part get along, and we're very chill people. We're very like that doesn't mean we're like antisocial. When I say chill, I mean kind of like calm, collected. We'll have conversations. We'll like listen to everyone's opinion. We'll give advice and all that, but we don't need to be like the life of the party, and we don't need to be like very in people's face, like with our energy. We're kind of low key with it, and we can be very passionate. We can be very like sensual. We can be very nice and listen to people and all that, but we're not like the life of the party. We're not usually people that have to like come in with a big voice, like, you know, like some Leos and fire signs. We don't have to like, to impress people, we don't have to basically, you know, be the loudest in the room. We can impress people in other ways. We can inspire and motivate people. We can give people good advice. We can listen to other people when they're talking and kind of bounce ideas off of these people. We don't constantly seek validation by being the loudest person in the room. We're pretty sure with ourselves, self-assured, and yeah. So we're not really into people that are gossipers. We're not into people that are like into spreading rumors and two-faced like kind of behavior and all that. We're not into the childish, you know, unless the Capricorn is unevolved and all that. But usually like a Capricorn isn't really into that. They would rather work on themselves. They would rather make money. They would rather go out. They have so many things, because what you give your time and energy towards, sometimes, you know, we think about the long term, because like what you give your time and energy towards now can have an impact on the long run. You know, like your future or your situation in the future, even your children's situation in the future, because how you act, you know, how you compose yourself is how you're going to teach your children how they compose themselves. So we're looking at the bigger picture. We're looking into the long run. And, especially if we already have a lot on our plate, if we have a lot of stuff to do, and then there's all this drama coming in and whatnot, like the Capricorn just has no time for that. Like, we don't have time for that. We never will. We will never engage in stuff like that. If people want to do that, they're free to go ahead and do that. Like, people have free will, but that's not something usually that a mature, responsible Capricorn would be into. Like, it's not something that we're into at all, and it's childish, and it doesn't help society or anyone progress in their life. You know what I'm saying? If you have a tough situation, you know, I'd say, you know, whoever you have a problem with, sit down and talk like an adult. Like, speak like an adult and sort out the situation yourself. Kind of like go through what happened, the situation where people were triggered or someone got upset. Like, go through what happened and kind of explain yourself, and listen to the other person that you have an issue with, that you disagree with, and listen to their side of the story. Because sometimes people were kind of like, oh, my way or the highway. Like, my opinion is the only opinion. It's the opinion that matters the most. But I think it's good to listen to what other people have to say, even if we don't want to, even if this person has upset us, even if they have triggered us or like hurt us
sometimes we need to put our egos aside and kind of like listen to other people and explain ourselves. And if they still like coming at us, if they're still like being rude and disrespectful and all that, you can just say, hey, you know what, we shouldn't be friends anymore. We shouldn't be working with each other anymore. We shouldn't be dating anymore. You know, just like at least talk it out and don't do the social media thing or the text message. Hey, meet with the person face to face and explain yourself and kind of sort out the issue in person, you know? Don't hide behind the screen. Like, sort it out in person. Yeah, so we are more inward people, you know? When people see us, they're like, oh, this person is like quiet and blah, blah. We're usually thinking a lot on the inside. Like I'm very like, I overanalyze all the time, and I think about things a lot. I think constantly. My mind is always thinking. Even when I'm in bed, like I'm just thinking about so many different things, and I have so many different opinions and things I want to say. But just because, you know, we seem cool and detached doesn't mean that we're not. Like, our minds are usually like working, and they're very like, we go into deep things. We think about things deeply because we're the sea goats, so we can go deep. We can go deeper with things. We can kind of like observe things from a deeper level rather than a shallow level. And we like to go deep with things, and we like to understand humanity and get into topics that are, you know, deep and like a bit controversial and all that. So we don't openly discuss or share our opinions with people, especially if we're not close with you, especially if a Capricorn doesn't really trust you yet. We're not going to openly, see how I'm talking with people now. This is like very Aquarius of me. I have Aquarius in my Mercury and Venus, so how I communicate is very expressive, and, you know, I have a lot of big ideas, big thoughts. But a lot of Capricorns, if they don't know who you are, if we haven't established a connection, we're not going to openly discuss everything with you. Like how I am now. Like, Capricorns need to take time to get to know you and vet you out and see how you are in person. And then they can share their opinions and thoughts with you. Even if you're dating a Capricorn, you might think you know that Capricorn, but you probably don't know everything about them. You probably don't know like the whole story. They have a lot to share with you, and they're going to see, they're going to be like looking at you first and see how you treat people, how you treat yourself. What are your goals? What are your aspirations? Are you balanced? Are you stable in life? And before they like share certain things with you, because if you're not on the same page with a Capricorn, if you're not on the same page and you don't kind of gel well with them, you're not like someone who they see as like a long-term friend or a long-term partner, they're not going to be sharing everything with you. They're not going to be going deeper with you in terms of certain topics and things. So, yeah. And again, you know, if this makes anyone uncomfortable, I understand, like, some people might be like a bit turned off about what I'm saying. They might be turned off with Capricorns because of what I've been saying, and I completely understand that. Like, believe me, I know not everyone can handle us. I know we are very we are not compatible with everyone, and that's fine because everyone has different things in their chart. Everybody has different signs, and certain signs are more compatible with other signs. Certain signs are more compatible with particular signs than others, and that's fine, and I understand that. But for the people that want to understand a Capricorn like in depth and in detail, like this video, like a lot of my content will be for you, because I personally feel like I need to clear up a lot of this talk about Capricorns, that where people explain us, they explain a Capricorn and characteristics about Capricorns and what they're like, but they don't fully understand, because I'm talking like as a Capricorn from my perspective as a Capricorn, and I have a lot of Capricorn in my chart, so I understand Capricorn on a deeper level. And like I said before, a lot of people I have worked with have been Capricorns, so I am aware of different Capricorns that are a bit different to me, and I can kind of like share my own input and opinion on Capricorns as a January 4th. I'm born January 4th, Capricorn. And kind of clear up and kind of help people get a deeper understanding, because like I said with Saturn, if you don't really understand what Saturn is about or Saturn's energy, then you're kind of like, you kind of be getting into kind of the stereotypes with Capricorn and like, oh, they're just cold, detached, gold digging, materialistic people. They don't show any emotions. They're stingy. They're overly critical, and those are all like negative things, but every sign has positives and negatives to it. And obviously a Capricorn that's unevolved would have more negatives than positives, or a lot of negatives or baggage with them. But if a Capricorn has been doing work on themselves, if a Capricorn has been taking the time to better, like self-improvement, like, you know, law of attraction, manifesting, self-improvement, all those things, which I share a lot on my channel. You know, I make subliminals that are for manifesting, law of attraction, achieving certain outcomes and goals in life. Like if a Capricorn has been into stuff like that, you know, at least they're working on themselves. At least they're trying to get better, and rise from the lower natured vibrations. Because it's easy to fall into like those lower natured vibrations, but it takes like your constant effort and determination to be the better person and to be the adult in the situation and say, hey, actually, I want to be mature. Actually, I want to take responsibility in my life. Actually, I want to go places. Actually, I want to establish healthy relationships with people and not treat everything like a high school situation, a high school game. I'm evolved. I'm mature. I'm older now, and I can deal with it. Yeah. So, so we're more mature if we are evolved. We're more kind of like, we're more stable for other people when we're mature and evolved. We will be able to give more sound advice. We will be able to be that supportive friend, that supportive partner. We will be there for people when we have been when we've developed and worked on ourselves first. Because a lot of times when a Capricorn says, hey, you know, I don't have time, I can't do this right now, it's because they're trying to get their life together. They're trying to make sure that everything's stable so that when they're there for you, they can literally be there for you and actually be that supportive person and actually be there. So but if a Capricorn hasn't been stable, if the Capricorn hasn't found stability in their life, they're not going to be as inclined. They're not going to be as devoted. They're trying to like find their way first, and if you can't understand them and all that, then the Capricorn's gonna be like, okay, well, bye. because we're like this. If we're gonna be your friend and we're gonna be your partner, we're gonna be real with you, we're gonna be supportive of you, and we want to be like there for you. So yeah, when it comes to being cutthroat and stuff, like in the business world, you know, people say Capricorns are very cutthroat. They're very like cold and calculating and all that, and they will be ruthless and they're ruthless leaders, and that's not the case with every Capricorn. Now, Capricorn men are a bit different than Capricorn women. I'd say Capricorn men are more cold, sometimes even more calculating in business, but they're very good at putting on a good face for people, putting on a good persona. But you'd have to like, Capricorns are good with like kind of mental work and like making people think a certain way about them, but that might not necessarily be like, they might not be like truthful. They might not be authentic or truthful in how they are displaying themselves. It just might be like a front, you know? So, when people say Capricorns are cutthroat, we definitely can be, but that's because of like Saturn. And when we were growing up, you know, a lot of things kind of teach us lessons. A lot of situations and stuff kind of teach us lessons, and we kind of have to learn from these lessons and learn not to be so gullible, learn not to be so trusting of people, learn not to be so nice to people, because, you know, if you're too nice, sometimes you get taken advantage of. So a Capricorn when people say, oh, you're cold, you're calculating, blah, blah, it's because they learned in the past, like they might have been too nice in the past, and Saturn's like, bitch, hold up. Like Saturn like drag you by the hair and be like, you need to grow up and you need to stop being so gullible and stop being so nice. Okay? So Saturn is just, Saturn is not like, Saturn isn't really like your friend. Saturn is like the parent. Saturn is your ruler. It's gonna like teach you right from wrong. It might even be a hard ass on you. It might be really hard on you. And that can even come through in other people. So when the Capricorn's growing up, they might have had a parent that was very strict and very controlling, very kind of like dominant, like, oh, you can't go out. You have to stay in and study. You need to, so Saturn isn't very like nice. It's not a nice planet. It's very realistic with you. It's gonna tell it like it is, like straight up no chaser. It's gonna sometimes show you the ugly sides of life from a young age, because it's like, oh, well, you can take it. You can handle it. You're a Saturn baby. You can handle it. So, Saturn is like, hey, I'm going to open up your eyes. I'm going to make you see all the shit out there so that when you're ready, when you're older, you can be able to deal with it. You can handle it. You're not going to like break down and cry and run away. No, you're going to be stronger. You're going to learn from your mistakes. So yeah, Saturn teaches people right from wrong from a very early age. And, it shows us the darker sides of humanity, that's for sure. Like all the masks and stuff, it'll show you that. So when it comes to business and certain things, the reason why Capricorns are so cutthroat is sometimes because of the Saturn, because of the lessons that they've learned, because of how Saturn has treated them. So the Capricorn doesn't want to just, surrender. The Capricorn doesn't want to just like go down without a fight. Like they will defend themselves to the end. And for whatever cause, like a Capricorn is going to be, if a Capricorn is cutthroat, it's because of how they've been disciplined, Yeah, so like as a child, I was very bubbly. I was very expressive. I had lots of friends. I was doing well at school and in my extracurriculars. But there were certain times as a child when I was taught certain lessons, and it was a bit scary. It was a bit frightening, as a child. And this was just, it wasn't very common. It just happened like now and again. But sometimes the authority figures in a Capricorn's life, like from a young age, can be very strict. They can be very, very scary. But they have like a lot of lessons to teach the Capricorn. And when I was a child one time, for a few, I don't know how many years, I think it was a few months actually, I was in a private school. I used to live in California when I was a child. And in this private school, there was a teacher there. She was Filipino. And this is when I was in kindergarten. And all the kids didn't really like her. She was very strict. She was very formal. Not someone she was a bit older. So she wasn't like someone that you would picture like as a kindergarten teacher, because she wasn't like, some kindergarten teachers are very like bubbly and, bright and friendly, but she didn't really have that energy to her. She was more like, she was just kind of like a bit older, like a granny, but not very friendly, or not very friendly with children, or like nice to the children. Like she was a bit strict. But anyway, so yeah, I usually did well in school and all that. I usually was like very kind of obedient in school and followed the rules, just like a lot of Capricorns when they're in school. They're very, they're very like obedient. They're like following all the rules and all that. And then, but there was this one time when I was just playing, in the playground with all the kids and all that. And there's this thing that they would give out they had this thing called student of the month, and they would give out like a happy meal, and they'd have cake for the student of the month. And the student of the month would basically be a student that had done exceptional in terms of like their studies or their schoolwork. I can't remember exactly what kind of things they had to do to get that award. I got it one time and I was really happy because you get this happy meal and you get your picture taken and all that, and it's nice. So one time some girl, she had won Student of the Month. She was in my class, and apparently someone had eaten her burger, had eaten her Happy Meal. So we had gone out to play and all that, and the Happy Meal had been ordered, and they put it in the classroom for her with the cake and the food and all that. So when everyone came back, they saw the Happy Meal was open. So some kid or someone had gone in and eaten her Happy Meal and all that. So I basically became the scapegoat for that situation. So this boy blamed me. He said that I had eaten her Happy Meal, eaten her burger. And I was like, what? No, this little fat boy, he was Hispanic. I can't remember the name, but he had blamed me for, oh yeah, his name was Eduardo. Eduardo. Eduardo had blamed me for eating this girl's Happy Meal. And oh my goodness, this is crazy. And I was like, first of all, my mom is very health conscious. Like she would never give me like, she never sent me to school with junk food. Like from a young age, my mom was very, very strict with what I ate. She would not let me eat any candy for like Halloween candy. Anytime there was like a holiday, Valentine's Day, Halloween, Christmas, Thanksgiving, like the school would have like a bunch of like desserts and candy and junk food for the kids, like during certain holidays. And my mom was like, you're not allowed to have that. Any candy I got, even when I was trick-or-treating, she would take the candy and she would like give it out at her workplace. She never let me eat any candy because she works in the food industry. So she knows about preservatives and, she knows about the artificial coloring and all that and what it can do to people's bodies. So from a young age, she was very strict. So I was like, I didn't usually get McDonald's and all that. And I didn't even like McDonald's. So when I was accused of eating that girl's burger, I was like, but I didn't eat it. And I was saying to the teacher, the strict teacher, the Filipino teacher, I told her like, I didn't eat it. And she's like, you're lying. So I became the scapegoat in that situation. And then she's like, I'm going to take you to the head office and we're going to like sort this out. Like, you're going to confess that you ate this girl's burger. So, I was really scared because, I had never gone to the main office, like principal's office or anything like that. And I had never been accused of anything either. I was very, even though I was like bubbly as a child and all that, I was still very obedient. I was still, I was very like, I didn't do mischievous things a lot when I was younger. I was kind of like, I kind of watched what I did when I was younger a lot. Cause my mom, she was in the Caribbean and I had grown up in the Caribbean when I was younger, and Caribbean parents are not like, they don't discipline children in the same way that American parents would discipline their children. They're more, they'll get the belt out and they'll give you licks, So I had a different kind of like upbringing than my Americanized peers. So, cause I lived in the Caribbean a bit before we lived in California. Anyway, so yeah, when I went to the office there, the teacher, my teacher was like, you're going to confess that you ate this girl's burger. And I kept on saying, I didn't eat it. I was outside. I was playing. I didn't go inside the classroom. I didn't eat it. And she's like, okay, since you're going to be like that, I'm going to take you in the back and I'm going to like cut open your stomach to see if you eat it. See if you ate it. That's what she said. She said, I'm going to take you in the back and I'm going to cut open your stomach to see if you ate that burger. And I was like 6 at the time. I was in kindergarten. And obviously, like, I was, that freaked me out. Like, I was so scared. I broke down after that. Like, she definitely broke me down. I was like, fine, I did it. Like, I confessed. Because after I heard that, like, how can you tell a child that? Like, how can you, as a role model, as like a teacher, tell a child you're gonna cut open their stomach? Okay? that's not right. Like that was so wrong. That was so wrong. And you don't tell children that. You don't say that to kids. Like it was so wrong. And after hearing that, I just lied and said I did it because I honestly I thought that they were going to cut open my stomach or do something. Like she had that teacher, she had a lot of negative energy, very like I guess people might say that's demonic, demonic energy to her or something. Like she wasn't a nice person, like I said before. She wasn't very nice with the kids. She wasn't, I guess maybe she was just there for the money. I don't know, but she wasn't like a nice teacher, a nice, like loving, compassionate teacher for the children. And I eventually told my mom, it took me a while, I think, because I was so shocked because, as when you're young, when you're a child and you see an adult behaving in a certain way, and when you think as a child, adults are there to protect you, adults are there to make sure you're doing okay, support you, and kind of teach you right from wrong. Like that was definitely not the way for her to handle the situation. She shouldn't have said that to a child. That was very wrong of her, and I can still remember to this day because it was so, it was so shocking. It was so wrong to say that to a child, that you're going to like cut open their stomach and all that. And this is a so-called private school, Catholic private school. You know what I'm saying? I went to public school later. And also like, this was just my teacher for kindergarten. After that, I had other teachers after that in that school and everything was fine. The teachers were great. It was just that particular teacher. Even the parents didn't like her. They didn't like her when they would meet with her and all that. And my mother, when I told my mother that, I don't know how late it was, but like I don't know I can't remember exactly what she did, if she went to the teacher or not. But yeah, sometimes when a Capricorn's growing up, they run into tough situations. Sometimes the adults, the parents or guardians or whoever that these young Capricorns encounter are not necessarily right in the mind. They might not necessarily be an actual good role model. They might be actually kind of negative and all that. So a Capricorn people, the reason why sometimes people say, oh, Capricorns are cold, or, they're a bit, detached, they're a bit, reserved, they're not going to jump into relationships right away, is because we are watching to see how you treat us, how you treat other people. So how you treat the people around you, how you treat, your relationships, like with your family, your friends and all that. So we will find out all those details about you. We will do that work. We will make sure you reveal your cards. You reveal who you are. We will wait it out. We have no time with patience. When we're climbing up that mountain, we can be climbing for days, weeks, months, and years. It doesn't matter. We're going to find out who you are. We're going to vet you out. You know what I'm saying? We will find out. And, that teacher, she also passed away. She had an illness or something like that. But I think like she had a lot of negative energy within her. And sometimes people that have a lot of negative energy and stuff, it can kind of poison their mind and they can develop illnesses and stuff. This is a very like metaphysical or spiritual level, like discussion, I guess, like, but I genuinely believe that sometimes if you have a poisoned or toxic mind, you can kind of develop illness because of that, because of your poisoned thinking patterns and behaviors that can manifest into physical illness. So she eventually passed away. I heard this when I was like a bit older. I was in public school, having the time of my life, not worrying about that bitch, So yeah, but that situation, that was just, I became the scapegoat in that situation. So that wasn't really fun. And that was really scary, really shocking to see an adult. But that wasn't the only time when like an adult had disappointed me or let me down or showed me how disgusting and terrible humanity can really be. So that's why when people say, oh, why are Capricorns so, they're not friendly. They don't want, they're not like approachable. You know, they have their guards up there. It's because we're waiting for you to reveal your cards. We're waiting to see, you know, if you are an actual person with morals. Like morals are kind of important to us. You don't have to be the most perfect peach, you know, in the county. You don't have to be the most perfect peach in the orchard. You don't have to be like someone with a lot of morals even. It's just, we want to see you be the better person and know right from wrong. You need to like show us you actually care about yourself and care about humanity, in a little way. Like, you don't have to be donating to charity every weekend and all that, but you know, we want to see if you basically have a humanistic quality to you, if you are able to kind of, if there's a bad situation, if you're able to show your humanistic side and do what's right in that situation, instead of going off of your ego, going off of your need for power, your need for, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so so that's the thing with Saturn. You know, during certain disciplinary times, like Saturn isn't going to give you a choice. Even like when I was being interrogated by that teacher, I wasn't given a choice. And that's kind of like what Saturn is like. So when people say, oh, why are Capricorns so cutthroat? Why are they, you know, why are people with a lot of Capricorn in their chart very like, they don't forgive easily and all that? It's because Saturn sometimes doesn't give you a choice in life. Saturn sometimes, you know, if it's teaching you a lesson, you will not have a choice. Sometimes you have to like choose something. You might have to do something that you don't want to do just for the sake of keeping peace with people, just for the sake of making things stay stable. Sometimes you will have to sacrifice. Sometimes you will have to like choose one thing over the next. But yeah, Saturn also rules death and kind of like rebirth as well. So just got my Christmas cookie. It's like a Linzer. I made some Linzer cookies. It's so nice. Yeah. So Saturn doesn't really give people chances. It's not a very compassionate planet. So when it teaches you a lesson, you're meant to learn from that lesson. Move on from your life. How you decide to go about and navigate through your life is up to you. But whatever the lesson has taught you, you know, you learn from that and you move on. You move on from it. Hopefully you do better because of it. Yeah. So Capricorns have seen very dark things, very dark sides of humanity. You know, they understand things like blackmail, betrayal, gaslighting, manipulation, and they know, they can tell when like people are using those tactics to get certain things in life. Yeah. So they're always going to be like watching to see how you kind of deal with people, how you interact with people. You know, even if it's like a dating relationship, it doesn't matter. Like the Capricorn's going to be observing you and seeing how you treat others and also how you treat yourself. Because sometimes how people treat themselves can reveal a lot about their whole kind of lifestyle or their beliefs, and you know. Yeah, so yeah. I want to get into relationships with Capricorns, like in terms of dating and all that. Just have some cookies here. Don't know if you guys can see that, but yeah, I made these cookies, you know, for Christmas, because when I like, I'm celebrating any kind of holiday, vacation time, I like to make food that is aligned with that kind of season. So like gingerbread and all that for Christmas. And like like Linzer cookies and all that for Christmas, and lots of soups and stews with lots of herbs. So I like cooking with herbs a lot, especially during this time of the year, because it's very cold out. I live in Canada and it's very cold, and I like to make sure my immune system is doing well so that I don't get sick and I don't get any colds and flus. And like nice clean soups, so that I don't get any kind of mucus buildup or get very stuffy. Because I do like eating a lot of breads and processed food sometimes, so I need to sometimes balance that out with more water, more like fresh fruits and vegetables, more whole foods. Because like I'm eating cookies right now, so it has to be balanced out with the soups and stews, and not just eating like junk food and sugar and bread all the time, right? But anyway, in terms of like dating and relationships with a Capricorn, or romantic, relationships with Capricorns. Capricorns will sometimes put work, money, and stability over relationships. And that goes for both men and women. So if a Capricorn is like in a relationship, that's because they consciously choose to be in that relationship. Okay? They could, like a Capricorn, sometimes as Capricorns are like, we can easily just be making money. We can easily just be working on our passion, working on our goals and dreams, studying and all that. So when a Capricorn makes time for you, or takes time to meet you in person, go on a date, go somewhere, see a movie or whatever it is, go to a restaurant, just know that something about you, they like you, obviously, or they're interested in you. They want to get to know more about you, because a lot of the time Capricorns don't even have time for themselves. A lot of Capricorns, they're so busy with their career. They're so busy sometimes providing or being stable for people around them, like being stable and supporting even people around them sometimes. So if a Capricorn takes time out of their day for you, just know that you're special, or, there's something about you that they want to know more about. There's something about you that's just maybe different. Maybe they see something in you that they don't see with a lot of people, because we come across a lot of people. Capricorn women, some Capricorn women are very attractive, very beautiful, and also very intelligent. I've met a lot of amazing Capricorn women. Like I said, I worked with a lot of Capricorn women, and some of them could be very intelligent, very beautiful, and all that. But they know that people, in terms of dating, are there to waste people's time and all this kind of stuff, and just play around. And sometimes a lot of Capricorn women know what they want, and Capricorn men as well. They know what they want, and they're not going to like sacrifice or kind of like lose themselves in the dating game just to make other people happy, just to please everybody. So if a Capricorn makes time for you, you're lucky already. You're probably doing something different that a lot of people aren't, because a lot of people approach Capricorn women, like all the time. A lot of Capricorn women get hit on a lot all the time, and depending on how you approach her, because a lot of Capricorn women are more conservative. Obviously, if you holler at her in the street and like yell at her like she's a dog, like she's an animal and all that, she's obviously not going to think positively about you. She's not going to want to even have a friendship or, approach you or be in your vicinity. So be careful how you like approach these women, how you approach Capricorn women. They're definitely more conservative. Even when I was working with other Capricorn women and I was trying to establish a friendship and a connection with them, they're a bit cautious. They're a bit, like watching me, like, not all of them, just a few. They were kind of like, who's she? Like, and I said, and then eventually I'm like, oh, so what's your zodiac sign? And then they're like, oh, I'm a Capricorn. I'm like, oh, I am too. And they're like, oh. So, yeah. And, we had really good conversations. Like, A lot of Capricorn women, I find, can have really good conversations. They're very knowledgeable about certain topics and certain things. They're very responsible and they give good advice. A lot of them sometimes, some Capricorn women are good, like very good at dressing and fashion and makeup and all that, like girly stuff. They're really good at like about finding like helping you with your style and all that. And I've gone to a lot of Capricorn women like for advice. I've gone to them for advice on certain things, and they're really helpful. Like, and they'll be honest with you. That's what I like about Capricorn women. Not necessarily the men. Like, I haven't really gotten this with the men. Like, a lot of Capricorn men can sometimes lie and put on a good face, but with the women, like, if there's something wrong, like if something's out of place or something's not right, they'll like say, hey, hold up, like you have something in your eye, or you like, they're gonna be honest with you. And if you ask them for their opinion on something, like, hey, does this dress make me look bad, or is this too like dark for this occasion? Like, is my outfit too dark for this occasion? Like, they're gonna straight up tell you. They're not gonna like lie to your face. Gemini. Just joking. They're not gonna lie to your face and be like, oh, you look great. Like, if something's wrong, the Capricorn woman's gonna tell you. Because my grandma was also Capricorn. On my mom's side, my Caribbean grandmother was a Capricorn, and boy, oh my goodness, she was very strict, very, very strict. And if she didn't like what my mom and I was wearing, and that was usually a lot, like she hated like how we dressed. Like, she was very like one of those Capricorn women where it's like, you need to really take care of your appearance. You need to always look your best. And when we would stay by her on vacation, she was very, very, very strict and very like she would be ashamed of us. Like, if we stepped out looking very casual, she was like, you need to dress up and you need to fix your hair and, comb out that child's hair and blah, blah, blah. Like, she wasn't having it. She was very, very like into her outward appearance, and making sure that she was put together as a woman. And she wanted us, and some people might say like, oh, she's being mean and rude to you, but when I look back on it now, I think she just knows that if you appear a certain way in society, if you take time with your appearance, people will treat you in a certain manner. She just understands how people think. And she didn't explain that to us, but when I think deeper about it, sometimes I feel like maybe she knows that people in our society sometimes treat you a certain way based off of your appearance. And also, Capricorn is an earthly sign. So Capricorns can be materialistic. They can be, I wouldn't say like fake and all that, but they can be into the material, and the status and all that. They can be into the accolades. Like, some Capricorn people like awards. They like being honored and revered for certain things, especially if they put in the work. Because Capricorns, a lot of the time, they have to actually put in the work. They're not like other signs where they just win something or they just inherit something right off the bat. Like, a lot of Capricorns have to put in the work to get certain results and to get certain awards and accolades. So yeah, my grandmother, now that I look back on it, I think she was just like understood that people in this world are also judgmental and will treat you sometimes based off of your appearance. And she wanted us to just be respected when we stepped out of the door, and be treated like human beings and all that. Because every country is different, like in terms of like how people engage and interact with each other. Like, Trinidad, I'd say, is more traditional and old-fashioned, even to this day. Even to this day, like, when I go to Trinidad, people sometimes, when I'm talking to them, or, I see people interacting on the street, it's a bit like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like, it's very different from North America. Like, they're more traditional, more family-oriented.